Chapter 9, Lesson 7, Factor Special Products. Now we're going to come upon a couple of things that we've already dealt with a bit here, focus on those, because what's going to happen here is this may look familiar. It's the difference of squares, what you get when you FOIL method, the difference of squares. So if you remember here, a plus b in parentheses times a minus b is going to give you a squared minus b squared. So if you look here, this one here is actually pretty simple because it's just this one here, r squared is a perfect square, so it is 81. There's no middle term, so this is just going to be r plus 9 and r minus 9. Now I know you remember that from, we talked about this a bit in the video. This one here is just going to be 2s minus, or excuse me, 3s minus 2t and 3s plus 2t. Okay, this one here is just going to be m plus 11, m minus 11. This one here is a little bit more complicated, and so is this one here, because those are not perfect squares. You notice 80 is not a perfect square, neither is 125. So, but because there's no middle term, we want to do a quick check to see if we can change them at all. And actually, what we can do is we can take a 5 out of the whole thing. And when we take a 5 out of this, we're going to rewrite it. It's going to be now 5, and it's going to be 16 minus 25q to the second power. So now we're just going to look at that. We still have to keep the 5 off to the side, but we're not going to factor that. So it's going to be 5 times 4 minus 5q, and that's 4 plus 5q. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just this idea of, for this piece here, that's how we get this piece here, and we still have the 5 off to the side. When you multiply it out, you get the right answer. I want to do this one over here as well. So in this case here, we got the only way we can get rid of some of that stuff is to divide by 3. When we divide 3 by 3, we're going to end up with 3 on the outside and then y squared. And then this divided by 3, let's think here, 3 divided into this, it's going to be 4 and 9, I believe. Yeah, so it's 49. So now I can, with this piece here, I can do the same thing I did over here. It's going to be 3 times y plus 7, y minus 7. And we're done with this part here. Now, same sort of idea here with the perfect square trinomial. If you remember this piece here, if you have a plus b, the whole thing squared, you're going to end up with a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Using the FOIL method, you'd come up with the same thing. This is just going ahead and a quicker way of doing it if you recognize that that's what's going on. So in this case here, this is going to be x plus 7 squared. In this case here, this one's going to be 12y minus 5 squared. Now again, same sort of problem as before. Some of these get a little bit more complicated. So let's look here. Actually, this is the only one that gets a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to come back to that in a second. So this one here is going to be 6x plus 3 squared. This one here is going to be m plus 1/4. Ooh, went ahead and made a mistake there. I made a mistake here also. Let me fix that. Shows you that you need to pay attention to those signs. It's actually 6x minus. So that's why it's really important to check that sign there, like I did just now. Because again, it needs to match that in this sort of situation. So this one's got to be m. It's not going to be plus, it's actually going to be minus 1/4 squared. Let's come back to this one here though. I'm actually going to pull this over here. 150z squared minus 60z plus 6. Now 150 is not a perfect square, neither is 6. But if I divide this whole thing by 6, what I'm going to end up with is I'm going to end up with 6 on the outside. And then I'm going to end up with the following. End up with 25 z squared minus 10z plus 1. When I multiply it out, I'm going to end up with 6. When I go ahead and factor this part out, I'm going to have 5z plus, oops, did it again, minus 1. And then that is going to be squared. And if I multiply that out, that makes perfect sense. So remember, you've got to keep that 6 still, but then this whole piece, make sure to match up the signs like I was saying before. This means it's an addition one, this means it's a subtraction one, this means it's a subtraction one, this one means it's a subtraction one. So keep track of that. So that's the only, the ones that I want you to pay most attention to, because we went over the other ones in class, are ones like this, and also ones like this, that you have to actually change by dividing things out. That's why I wanted to do this video, to make sure that's clear.